The science actually says that 77% of a leader's effectiveness is wrapped up in two attributes, that they're inwardly sound and others focused.
When you're on an airplane and it has a huge moment of losing altitude, what do? It's you have to put on the oxygen mask before you can give it to anyone else, including a child. And it's that concept of the billionaire.
Now, I don't have a breakdown of what percentage those two are, but for me, if I'm not inwardly sound, I can't be others focused.
A billionaire who's healthy has a million problems to think about, but a billionaire who's unhealthy only has one problem. Welcome to Outsource to Profits. I have a fantastic guest. Benj, do you mind describing who are you, what you do, and how you serve the world?
Yeah, who I am is a loaded question. I'm a redeemed child of the living God and trying to live out of that identity and let everything else flow from that. What I do is I coach senior leadership teams, not one-on-one coaching, but with the team together and the team dynamic, and help them figure out it's personal development, leadership development, organizational development, all in one. And I also certify other coaches to do the same thing.
I'll tell this through a story because what we're going to do is talk about how you show up. And since 2010, I've owned 3 agencies. And along that journey, I've had multiple business partners. And as you get older, you come to realize that you really are, it's like a parent-child relationship between the employer and the employees. And I've had in multiple occasions where teammates have come up to me and they've said, hey, you've become a mentor to me, but your other business partner or business partners, they're kind of an indication of detraction or what I don't want to become, or there's something about the way that they're showing up or not showing up that's really affecting the business. And I never thought much about it. There's a great book called The Challenger Sale. And in the Challenger Sale, there are 5 archetypes and you can get tested for what type of archetype you are. And everybody wants to be the challenger, which is the point of the book. It turns out that I'm the hard worker. I grew up a farm kid. So I just know how to get up at sunrise, work until sunset. It's a very simple thing for me. So with that, can you kind of describe the hot take, the quote from you? But then I'd love you to double click into the situation where, as you're going in, and I love that you're coaching the team. So you're getting the employees and the employer together, and they get to hear from their own teammates where they're making mistakes. What is the fundamental showing up or not showing up problem that you're seeing over and over and over again?
Yeah. So the kind of hot take version of it is that how you show up for work every day is the greatest indicator of your company's ability to grow. And so a lot of leaders get really frustrated with, I call it organizational velocity. How fast can you make progress toward your goals and vision that you have for the organization? And in that frustration, you're looking at everybody else going, well, that system's broken, that person's broken, we need to upgrade, whatever. And most like, I'm like you, I grew up on a farm in Ohio. So like you just work harder. And what this is saying is like, hey, you can work harder, but you also need to like put intentionality into how you working on yourself. How am I showing up as a leader? Because if I show up in an absolute grind every day and somebody walks in my office and that's annoying, well, now I treat them poorly. I haven't enabled them. I haven't really empowered them to grow the business for me. It's funny the way that you talked about the partner.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
I was going to say they become reluctant to even go into your office because they know it's like, I'm going to get the eye rolls and the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's funny you talked about the partner. As you were talking about that, I think my greatest, is this even a term, like anti-mentor? My last boss I ever had. I've been self-employed for 20 some years, but my last boss I ever had, the number one thing I took away was I want to lead not like that. Right. And so sometimes we learn, it happens with parents too. You're like, man, I can be a great parent if I just don't do what my parents did, right? Like do the opposite. So sometimes that like actually works, but you still need a good picture of what good leadership is. So who's the coach that you had growing up, or the teacher that you had growing up that poured into you? And the science is interesting on this, because the science actually says that 77% of a leader's effectiveness is wrapped up in two attributes: that they're inwardly sound and others focused. Now, I don't have a breakdown of what percentage those two are, but for me, if I'm not inwardly sound, I can't be others focused, right? So now we take the 77% of a leader's effectiveness. The other 23% are all things you know: communicate effectively, marshal resources, cast vision, create culture. Like it's the stuff they teach in every business school in the country, right? But it's 23%. So 77% is of these two attributes, and of those, one comes before the other. So how much intentionality do you or your organization have around the people showing up inwardly sound? It's a weird word. Nobody knows what it means, but you kind of know what it means. Like when you're not defensive, you're not acting out of your own need to be validated. Like you're grounded, you're good. So now I can show up for other people in the good of the organization without a risk to my ego.
It's funny. I was as you were giving me that quote or that saying, inwardly bound or
inwardly sound. Yeah.
Inwardly sound. My first instinct was to think about this concept of when you're on an airplane and it has a huge moment of losing altitude. What do? It's you have to put on the oxygen mask before you can give it to anyone else, including a child. On that same vein, where I was taking this is I'm just assuming, looking at you through the video, you're somebody who takes care of themselves physically. My brain immediately went down this rabbit hole and wondered, how often in your coaching and in your customers are you having a conversation about the order of operations you just talked about, inwardly sound, and then we're going to focus on part two, that you actually have to have that conversation with them about, you must fix this box here. You're in poor health. And it's that concept of the billionaire. A billionaire who's healthy has a million problems to think about, but a billionaire who's unhealthy only has one problem.
Yeah.
And how often does that come up? Or is it more on the other attributes of thinking, of focusing inwardly before we focus outwardly?
So I think, man, there's so many threads to pull on here. But
I just because that's where my brain went as you described it. It's like you have to fix you.
You have to fix you. Now, that said, almost every entrepreneur that's building something of substance has this like continual learning gene that they're constantly like craving the next thing, the better thing. So there is a lot of like, I'm going to improve in a lot of areas of life. You have exceptions. You've got the guy that weighs 400 pounds that smokes 7 packs of cigarettes a day, and he's really good at what he does, whatever that thing is. But a lot of the people that are building great organizations are like exceptional humans. Like you want to be around them, but it's because they've done that work. And some of it's physical, some of it's spiritual, some of it's mental, some of it's financial. The funny thing is, I've found that like most people have a vice, right? If there's whatever realms, there's 7 realms, like, the physical, spiritual, whatever. Most people have one that is just an Achilles heel. And so some people, it is the physical. Some people, it is their marriage that they go home to. Like it's really hard to be exceptional and intentional in every area of life. Great leaders are intentional in every area of life. However, there's just something about it that there's typically one that's still a struggle for them. I think it's to keep us human, to keep us grounded, to need community, to need a God, all these things about the way we were created to do life with other people. So there's some reasons for it, but it's interesting. I had to learn early on in my career when I would look for those people that I wanted to emulate. I'd like find like, oh man, Jamie's awesome at this, and this, but this. And I would discredit him because of the one this. And I've learned to more curate my collection of inspiration let's just emulate Jamie in this, and this.
Yeah.
And that one that he's not good at, that's okay. Like, he's human. So let's go find somebody else that I can emulate in that area and learn from and grow from. Because I think we do all have an Achilles heel, and it allows, like, hey, maybe I can, even though you're my mentor, Jamie, maybe I have something to offer you in this area and we can work together. So it's just a cool symbiotic thing that happens in community.
I love this. Now, if we flip it now to action oriented, so you're working with a customer, there's some inwardly sound efforts that need to focus, and then they need to translate to helping the team.
Yeah.
Is there also an order of operations in which, as an example, I'll give you a first principle of ours. If you actually look at our core values here at Get Levrg, one of the first ones is overt communication. I believe that 80% of all, because we're in a service-based business, 80% of all the challenges that arise is somewhere there was a communication bottleneck or gap or a breakage, whether it was us to the customer internally to themselves, or us internally. So there's an order of operations, kind of like the order of operations that's called people, then process, then technology. So in your coaching, is there an order of operations of a fixing these in a stage or in a process?
I wish. Humans are a little more complicated. There's lots of, but it is kind of figuring out what is the thing that's holding you back. And it's usually something you're holding on to that you're not ready to give up. An old story, like, hey, I believe this about myself. It's actually not true anymore. Nobody that I know now would say this, but I was told this and I believed it and I've held on to it and I haven't let it go. So those are the breakthroughs that we're looking for. When we talk about others focused, remember that communication is one of those other 8 in the 23%. It's huge. All of the things in there, you're like, they're huge. You have to have them. You have to do them. But how effective you are at those is driven by how you show up and are you inwardly sound. It's who you are, not what you do. The communication is so important, but it's what you do. When we talk about others focus, what we're talking about is being able to show up on their behalf and have their best interests. So it's things like being humble, to allow humble in a way of like, I'm going to assume that I don't know everything about like whatever we're talking about now. So like there's a curiosity. What am I missing? What am I not thinking about? What do you know that I don't know? So a lot of it's really like an empathetic way of showing up. Like, not only do you have something to say, but you've got a reason for why you believe that, think that, have come to that conclusion. And it might be the data that you just ran on a report. It might be your life experience. So like, can I get both curious and empathetic to know where it's coming from? And now I can really show up, not to use you or get the right answer, but I can also show up for you. Like, hey, I noticed that when you bring me things like this, you often tend to shortcut this or this. I need you to work on making that part of your thinking process, right? So yes, I'm going to do that for the good of the company, but I'm also investing in you, who you are as a person. You can take that into any place, any career you want to. A friend of mine, Michael Alasso, he was a Broadway director, on Broadway, obviously Broadway director, but they get the stage 1 week before they go live. And usually the cast all comes together at the beginning of that week. So these Broadway productions that you would think they've practiced for months and months and months, they get 1 week, which is 2 dress rehearsals a day. So you've got 14 runs before you go live on Broadway. And so in his mind, his job was to give notes to every single person after every single one of those, because he had 14 runs, but he only had 1 week to get everybody to Broadway level. So he had no room to hold back. This is where you've got to improve. This is where you've got to improve. Now, if you meet Michael, he is the absolute most joyful, nicest human on the planet. And that allows him, because you know that he loves you, he can show up and tell you anything and give you the best feedback that's going to grow you. And it might, from anybody else, it might hurt, but from him, you're like, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
I love that. Last question before I let you go, and actually also want to know how to get a hold of you. so you can tell the audience. But the last question is, I've often found one of the ways, I come from the sales training space and also enabling my own team and enabling customers. I tell stories. A lot of times I'll tell cautionary tales of things that I've done wrong and to learn from. You talked about like there's those 8 spectrums, those, it could be spiritual, financial, whatever it might be. What was or is your Achilles heel personally that as you're coaching your leaders, you'll say, hey, here's even the things I had to work on. Yeah. And by me working on me, I worked on these and this is what happened.
Yeah. I've got 2. So one's in my personal life and one's in my business life. We'll do the easy one first, which is business. It's less vulnerable, but it's exactly in your wheelhouse. Growth has always been my Achilles heel, like actual revenue, go out to market. I love the product. I love the brand. I love the team. I love the culture, building all the systems to make it all work together. I love all of it. I do not like trying to figure out once I know who this is for and that it fits the product, like the product market fit, the whole go to market thing. I'm like, can somebody else please do that? Cause I just don't love it. So that's always been a struggle for me and absolutely required me to, a lot of the things I can pick up any hat and do the things. That one's always been something where I've always struggled. In my personal life, it was my marriage. And I say that saying I've got a great marriage, but after 26 years, it's been a process where early on, I think we got really enmeshed. So if she wasn't okay, I wasn't okay, which meant I had to tiptoe, I had to make sure she was okay. So I wasn't being myself or I wasn't okay. And so we learned in retrospect that we started these little dancing around each other instead of me just showing up absolutely who I am with my truth, with everything I have for her. It was like I needed something from her to be okay. And that's kind of the thing. It's like it's healed and it's better and I've got to keep working on it, right? Or else it goes back to my gravity, my status quo, which is that kind of codependence. So her, I'm not like that with anybody else on the planet, but I think I like my wife too much and it caused me to be a little too dependent on her.
This is fantastic. How do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about your business?
Sure. The easiest way is benjmiller.com, benjmiller.com. Anything I'm really doing, you can get there from there.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much for being on Outsource to Profits.
Loved it. Great energy. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks a lot. You take care.